Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Thursday, December 8th. In this episode, we will review the entire round of 16, discuss the end of Ronaldo and all the narratives that are going on, and preview the quarterfinals. Oh my God, this thing's almost over. But first, Mike, what is your big takeaway from the round of 16? Do you have some heat for us?
No, I think that it's. I think I'm happy for Morocco. I think that for Spain to not score a goal in 120 minutes and 3 penalties is remarkable.
Yes,
They parked the bus, right? Let's be very clear about what they did, right? But
good. But it was heroic
good for
bus
them.
parking.
Good for them. Really, really valiant effort. Fun game. I loved the Moroccan keeper talking shit before the penalties. Very Emmy Martinez-ish.
Yes.
Copa America. Loved that. So that's my big takeaway, right? That's the headline for me, is that not so much that Spain are out, but that Morocco is back in the quarter.
Yeah.
Not back in the quarter. They're in the quarters. Everything else pretty chalky. And obviously the nod to Japan, who put up probably the most valiant fight of any loser in the round of 16. So hat off to them. God bless them. Somebody in our WhatsApp group, and which by the way is super fun. You should join that if you're listening. We have it in the description.
You gotta contact us because we get a lot of Nigerian princes.
If you guys want to make so much money really fast. Anyway, that's not the point. Somebody made the point that I can remember who it was, that they said they didn't go down very easily. They were very valiant and almost to a detriment. And you fucking just hate to see that. But that you hate to see that that it hurts them doing the right thing. But one of the more enjoyable teams to watch in the tournament. One of the teams that cost me a shit ton of money. Japan is no longer. So And speaking of no longer, our beloved U.S. men's national team bows out to the Netherlands in a game that they were right in, that they could have won. Pulisic has, for my money, the best chance of the game of probably either team early, 5 minutes in. Duffs it. I thought for sure he was offside. I didn't even move, in fact, when he shot it. The far man was keeping him on. It's a bag of what ifs for the U.S., and it always feels like that, right? 2014 was like that too with Wondolowski, but in 2010, there's not the despair you usually feel, right?
It's a name brand loss. It's like, it's the Dutch, it's Van Gaal.
Oh, sure.
It was a little bit of a bridge too far. I mean, can we fault the goals, right? Adams on the first, not tracking.
That was the most shocking thing to me of the whole tournament.
I think they could probably burnt out, and then Dest on the third. But they were really. I mean, the Dutch goal was like bing bang boom bam bam boom boom.
Oh, of course,
Van Gaal got a lot of credit, and he actually hammered. He hammered, because you know how Van Gaal is always very honest. He hammered Berhalter. First, he raised them pregame, and the post. He's like, we knew exactly what they were going to do, and they never adapted. I was like, ouch.
Yeah.
So
and yet they could have been 2-0 down at half.
Sure. But
the Netherlands is not a good side. They're a historical side, but they were a name brand that you could have added to your bedpost. You could have knocked them off. So
but
it's unfortunate.
But when they wanted to play, they got through the U.S. and then they sort of sat deep. But I think the thing that's really fascinating for me, and I know this is obvious, and maybe I'm naive and dumb and weird, and I don't get it. It's just
you are,
the tactics and the way people play is just completely different than club. I don't think that you can play strict offensive, beautiful game, tiki-taka stuff and win. I think you've got to be Brazil can, but they're also stout defensive, and they go 3 deep and 4 deep, and that's philosophically that's what they do. But just like, you have to be defensive, you have to be solidity first. And guys like Deschamps, who you're just like, can you just take the handbrake off of France? And they're like, no, we're not going to do that.
Right,
or England, when you're like, can you just take the handbrake off of England? No. We're not giving up shit. That's it. You think about,
there's 2 reasons for that.
But then you think about Germany, who are like trying to play, and they just get hit on the brake.
Yeah,
because they're not solid enough.
Right. Okay, and so you hit on one of them. I think there's 2 reasons for that. A, It's not club football. You can't choose who is on your team, realistically, right? So that's a huge piece of it. In so much as you sort of kind of can with the dual nationals and all that shit. But you can't go out and get somebody like, we need a holding midfielder. You can't
to
go
change
out
our
and
view. You're just like, you know how I always make that line, it's like, y'all, you're only as good as your weakest link. You have to literally play to your weakest link. Like,
yes.
No, we literally don't have good central defense. Even though we have all these attackers, we cannot play that way.
Yeah, right. And so, I mean, look at the U.S. We just don't have we've never, ever, since Brian McBride, never had a striker, right?
And he was just a poacher-y kind of
yeah.
A 10-goal guy in the Premier League, which is pretty good.
You don't have that piece. That is, for me, what our downfall was. We had other issues. I'm not saying we're flawless by any stretch, but if you have a striker, you're much more lethal.
I do want to give credit to, and I think I said this in my preview, you weren't able to be there. It was just like, Sargent is actually good. I think that's the sort of thing I take from it, is just considering what our options are, really. Not that he's good, he's a world class, but he ran the channels, he pressed defenses back, he held up the ball. And what I noticed in the game was there were a couple of times when we'd get down the wing or try and throw a ball in, there's nothing that could stick. There was nobody to sort of like just be a presence the same way, like he could become a shit Giroud, right? As I sort of think about it, like Giroud just basically set the record for goals for France. He's nobody's business of a great striker, but he runs the channels. When he gets chances, he finishes, and he allows all the Dembeles and he allows all that other stuff to happen because he's just like, okay, these two center backs is this giant, most Adonis person there. You have to respect him. He's making runs. He's putting pressure on. And I thought Sargent did that well. And I think in the England game, it showed. And especially in the Iran game, he was putting himself around, getting into the corners, getting to the byline, and just generally being there. And I think, as a City fan, having Haaland now and not having him before, that shit matters. And I think he gets my nod as like the underrated performer for the team. Simply by him getting pulled out, you could see the difference. And Ferreira wasn't ready. He just didn't provide that.
It makes me sad going back into the team, right? Like you could tell Weston didn't have it. He was still struggling through something.
They were all done.
Yeah. And Jedi towards the end was on fumes.
He made a mistake for the third goal.
You know what? I don't even call it a mistake.
But him and Ream got confused and they kind of just didn't pick up Dumfries on the other side.
Right.
They both went to the striker and it's just like, and Ream's like, what are you doing, dude?
But
why are you here?
He's playing hurt. He's trying to struggle through it. And it was just one of those where it was like, he's going to get beat. It was funny when we scored the first goal, or when we scored our goal,
to
make it 2-1. The only thing you could guarantee was that it wasn't going to end 2-1. You didn't know which way it was going to go.
We gave it up so quickly after that too. That's the thing that made me think the Dutch had a gear and had a plan for all that. I think Van Gaal really shows, a lot of these national team coaches are all vibes. You know what I mean? They're just like kind of just play defensive and kind of are positive guys the way Southgate is. But Van Gaal's no joke, right? This guy is a guy who's won the Champions League, guy who's built teams, guy who's, won, as much as United fans want to shit on him, they won the FA Cup with him. They didn't like it. They didn't like what they saw, but guy took that Dutch team that kicked lumps out of Spain. They just kicked Alonso in the chest. Took them to the final.
I bet you that United fans, since Van Gaal has left, before Ten Hag, if you would have asked them who the best manager since Sir Alex left, it's Van Gaal.
Well, I mean, Mourinho had an 81-point season, but it was ugly.
Yeah, they just hated him, right? They hated Van Gaal because he wasn't Sir Alex. They hated Jose because he's Jose.
Yeah. But anyway, so U.S. takeaways. I think Adams, the team, I think they played well. I think and now we're in another phase where Berhalter is up for a contract. Mm-hmm. He's looking at club teams. I think he's going to go for Europe. Maybe the U.S. men's national team job does open, and I think the best option, and I know this sounds controversial, I don't think it's going to be Marsh. I think it's Jim Curtin from Philadelphia Union.
Okay.
Really good coach, really good with young players, has had 4 years in a row of growth with that team. And I do think, I've come around on this, I do think it has to be an American coach. I don't think you can go international. I don't think you can do that to start your program and kind of get your team's expectations, but I think there has to be an Americanness to it. I think Marsh will stay at Leeds. That's the only reason. If Marsh is available, I think Marsh stays at Leeds.
My expectation is that in the next 2 years, Marsh gets fired because
the team's not good enough.
Right. And what I'm saying is, if we've got not 2 years until qualification starts to matter, right? Yeah. And oh, by the way, we're automatically though. We're automatically in.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And another thing, if we weren't automatically in, the field is expanding. We're in. It's not a problem, right? So sure. I think if you lose Berhalter, you have a caretaker, and you just wait. And you just see for about a year plus. You get some guy to cut his teeth. You let fucking Landon Donovan do it. I don't care, right? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe they do let Donovan do it for all I know.
Yeah, sure. I don't think that's let me be very clear on record. I don't think that's a good idea.
He's been the coach of my team, San Diego Loyal. I'm very, very familiar with Landon Donovan as a coach. We gave up more second half goals than any team I've ever seen. And we did lead the league in goals, but we did lose at the first hurdle to the champions of the USL.
My point is that it could be me and you tag team in the fucking position.
Yeah,
it's not going to matter.
Sure.
So do you think Jesse Marsh is looking for a job in the next 3 years? Because I do.
Yeah, but maybe he wants club. Maybe he's not the right guy. I don't know. I think if it's not Marsh, I think Curtin is the next up and coming young coach. I know it sounds crazy for me to talk. Maybe it's Cherundolo. Maybe he leaves LAFC.
I could see that.
He wants to do that. Coming off a championship. Anyway, I think we put a bow on the U.S. men's national team. A positive experience overall. The guys get a lot of learnings from this. I think institutionally we know the U.S. is not ready. Maybe they may never win a World Cup in our lifetime, but I think, we go into 26 with a clear goal of progression into a quarterfinal, into a semifinal, which I think is an option, especially if our players go a rung higher. If Adams is now in a Champions League team week in and week out, we know McKennie already is. If we find in the next 3 years we have a young defender who is just lights out, I think in our keeper, in Turner, we have a good keeper. He may want to leave. That's okay. He may want to leave Arsenal and go to a championship team, and maybe he'll just take Zach Steffen's job at Middlesbrough because he's not even playing. But I thought he was good. He made really good saves. His distribution was fine.
I thought he was great. Yeah.
And then there may be growth in Sargent. He may be that 15-goal scorer.
He could be.
When if Norwich get promoted or they want to sell him on if they don't make it and they need to make money, he'll be that guy who's in that group of strikers in that teams 15 to 25 of England, right? That middle 10 group where it's just like Josh Sargent, and he gets a run and he has a Bamford-like season and he has a 17-goal season.
Yeah.
It could happen, right?
Yeah, I could see that. One last parting note on the U.S., and I said this in our very first World Cup preview episode. I want to caution that World Cup progress is not linear, right? No. I said that just because the U.S. did something this time doesn't really mean shit for 2026.
They played well, though.
No, well again. Of course. But the expectation is, okay, we did this, now we'll go one better. No, it's the goal. It's the goal setting, of course, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're automatically at the rung that we got to this time, right?
There may be a consolidation where we don't get out of the group.
Well, and now I'll back that one. I'll backtrack 1 second, like I said before, and say
2006.
We're going to get out of the group because the group is going to be shit, and we're going to be a pot one team. Right. We're going to have that advantage. We're going to the groups are going to be diluted. So my expectation is not even the round of 32. My expectation is getting back to the round of 16 for 2026. That's my, because of thinking about how the tournament's going to be laid out and how we're going to be a host nation, which means we're going to get a good draw 95% of the time. Right. Yeah. So we're going to get a good group. and hopefully I don't know how the knockout stages are going to be
I think
laid out.
It's unclear. They're assuming threes, but it sounds like people are just like this 4-team 3 thing was really cool. Maybe we can find another way. Anyway, let us go to Spain Morocco, because that was the biggest upset. Not a great game per se, but we just have to talk about two things. Let's start with Spain. Let me just give you a stat. Are you ready for a crazy
I'm
stat?
ready. Yeah.
Spain made 1,088 passes at 89% accuracy. How many shots on target did they have?
One.
How many shots did they take? 13.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, you think about a team that didn't want the ball in Morocco. You just let Spain, they just went backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. Somebody shoot the goddamn ball. I don't understand this Spanish thing. They've got this philosophical thing, and Luis Enrique was even saying it, like, and same thing with Rodri. They're brainwashed into this, like, oh, we played well. You did not play well if you just went one side to the other side. This is not playing well. You did not threaten Morocco. Morocco, you got to go after them. They're not sitting there to hang out. Throw the ball, go over the top, do something that's not nothing. They did nothing, and they didn't deserve to win. That's my take on Spain. You've got to change it up. This is the Pep Guardiola problem, right? When Pep would drive me nuts and City would have those games, you'd be like, oh, they didn't score in the first 15 minutes. We're going to be fucking around for the next hour. More the Barcelona Pep when he sort of actually spread to Spain and had us frozen in that version of Spain. But you've got to put the ball in behind. Like, where are the runners? Where is Torres? Where the fuck are these guys? Can you get to the byline?
What do you think is Spain's fatal flaw?
They don't have a striker.
Thank you. Yeah. Right? They have Torres, they have Olmo, they have and they have all these star wingers. What did that look an awful lot like to you?
It looked like City.
It looked like City pre-Holland.
Yeah.
It looked like City playing Crystal Palace.
But City would get to the byline, and there would be sometimes a guy would get to the box, and De Bruyne would shoot, and we won the league, and went to the semifinal and had Spain and had Madrid dead to rights until the fucking God came and destroyed my soul. Without a striker, right? Like, there were guys that would do things. They would get to the byline. You'd have Raheem in the back post. They had crosses that got smashed across the box. There's nobody there. Like, what are you doing? Get to the back post. Like, these are things that, like, you have to know. You have to have a football brain. And I know this sounds crazy, like I'm some kind of genius, but if someone's about to cross the ball, you got to get to the back post, because that's where the goals go in. Like, even I know that. I'm no fucking genius. And Ferran Torres, who thought he was hot shit, was like, oh, I'm going to leave City, and City made a lot of money out of him. You just did not get any stock. You went to Barca, and now you're shit for Spain. And Morocco, while they had a great game plan and defense, they haven't given up any goals, and Bono was great, and all that is fine. And Ziyech and all those French-trained players, because France just puts everyone on to the World Cup, they didn't have to do that much. They just had to be solid, not make mistakes, and let, it was like a rope-a-dope. Like, go ahead, we'll play for penalties. I don't care. You're going to miss.
Yeah, I mean, and then, like we said, getting back to at the top of the show, getting back to the keeper, Bono.
Yeah, well, he plays in Spain. He knows them.
Yeah, and he just stared them down and said, "I know where you're going. You're in deep shit."
The other thing was, and I think this is an interesting part, is just like, as the teams go out, the Arab countries are rallying around the Arab teams. And so that was a home game, and it was loud, and all of them got behind Morocco. It's like, are you a Muslim team? Is there a freaking star and a moon on your goddamn flag? We're with you, brother.
Yeah.
So Morocco got that backing, and I think, that was interesting. And they're gonna have a home game against, in the quarterfinals for sure. I wouldn't against Portugal. That is going to be tough for Portugal, but they're playing way above their head. Ziyech was good. The penalties were good. And then I think there's like this scourge. I think Ivan Toney has got everyone thinking that you can just do a slow walk up and I talked about it in the WhatsApp group. You just got to go old school. When in doubt,
just hit it hard.
Just run and fucking slam it. I mean, Olmo came. Was it Olmo? I know.
Well,
one of the
everybody's
guys
afraid of
just
missing.
hit the post.
Everybody's afraid, not just missing the penalty, missing the net, right?
Yeah,
like everybody's afraid of skying it. I mean, okay. Do you guys not practice this shit? Like,
of course
because
you do.
The only way
can't be practiced.
The nerves of that situation can't be replicated, of course.
Right.
But the only way you can, like, I almost feel like, and I don't have stats to back this up, I'm talking strictly out of my ass, but it's the percentage chance. I guess going into a penalty, you probably have about a 70 to 75% chance.
The number is 70%.
Okay. So I'm not talking all the way out of my ass. So then if you were to go to the slow run up and basically take one of your weapons as a shooter away, which is velocity, right? I got to think that 70 becomes a 40, right? Like,
well, yeah, you're taking away. You've just got to have a side and just nail it.
Just
and
go.
If he knows your side, just hammer it.
If he knows it, it still could go through him, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
If what you're saying is, if I take the velocity part off of the attempt, you're basically saying it's a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
Right.
And the penalties have been awful. And we can jump to the other penalty game, Japan, which was much more heroic. They were really in the game against Croatia. Both teams kind of shut it down and we're just like, you know what? Neither of us are scoring in this thing.
Let's just do it the old-fashioned way.
Let's just do it the old-fashioned way. But Japan's really went poorly as well. And the Croatians, obviously, narrative is, oh, they're veterans. Oh, it's Modric. Modric wasn't on the pitch.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
But Modric was a boss as usual. And Croatia continues to be underestimated. I think the interesting thing about Croatia is last time they went through 3 different penalty shootouts or extra time at least to win games. They just have the nous. They've got something in them. I think there's something about a midfielder that really can control a game a lot more than a striker in a weird way, because Modric he's deep. He's taking things off defense. He's moving in he's in the midfield. He gets in the final third. That idea that he's much more involved in things and can affect the game in different ways. Those extra touches around the corner that make there be a break, the taking of free kicks. No, but I mean, there's just so many more touches, so much more influence.
Yeah, you have so much more control, right? Like the striker is
a finisher.
The headline, right? But the striker is the if it's a car, the striker is the color paint that it is. Right?
Yeah.
And the midfielder, the central midfielder, is the engine, right?
Yeah, so he's fantastic, and him and Kovacic are just.
I got a great car in my garage.
Yeah, they're just good.
No engine, right?
The header from your boy Perisic was incredible.
Love him.
He's like. So I read something like he's so good in World Cups, it makes you think that he's the greatest player of all time, but he's only okay for Spurs. And we could jump around. I mean, we have a kind of order of operations that we were going on, but I do want to touch on. Let's go to Argentina. Argentina are all about Messi. Messi scores the goal. I have my one comment for Australia is they gave up 2 goals. One of them is like, you're Australia. You have Matty Ryan in goal, who was fired by Graham Potter at Brighton because he couldn't play out from the back, and you play out from the back. Yeah. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah. You're Australia. Just don't do that. Yep. So this is a pet peeve of many and all. You just don't. You're. It's Julian Alvarez all over his ass. Like, what are you doing?
One thing I'm surprised about as it pertains to Argentina is there's not more of a groundswell for pro Messi. I was expecting that. I feel that in a weird way, I'm glad the US isn't playing them on Friday, so I can be like, go Messi. I want Messi to take down Netherlands, Brazil, and you know what? I want him to beat a Ronaldo-less Portugal in the final. That would be fucking amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pulling for him. The reason why, and you know this, my thing about Messi is this: I'm a Messi guy. The narrative around Maradona, I understand he's more famous. I understand all that. Can we really just admit that he's living off 3 minutes of footage from 1986? I mean, he's frozen in time. I'm sure that, you get all these stories. I'm just like, I get it. I understand that. I have seen every single one of Messi's games. Like, the amount of footage we have is he doesn't get to be a legend. He gets to see, we saw everything. And, you'd have all these shows when Messi would score an incredible goal in that peak sort of 2009 through 15, I guess. We're just like, I don't have any more words to say about him because we've said everything. Whereas Maradona gets to be frozen as this flawed cocaine George Best bad boy. Oh, look at poor old Maradona being weird. The guy had no cartilage in his face. I mean, he's like 5 years from becoming Artie Lang. Do you know what I mean? But he's lovable and charming, and he's religious, and he has that. I get it. I didn't watch it enough. I can't say. I'm sure the feelings of it, of watching a World Cup and seeing him run through the English defense that we've seen a million times, and the hand of God and all these things. But there's no way that he was better than Messi. None. Zero. None possible.
Whatsoever.
Right. There's just none. It's not possible.
But yeah,
there's no way.
I'm excited for them. I think they're going to take the Netherlands. But let's.
Yeah, they should. But Van Gaal is going to use everything he can. He's going to do Passchendaele. He's going to open up the dikes. He's going to flood the pitch. He's going to do what the Dutch would do if they were at war. He's going to make sure it's market garden like the Germans and open up all the things so that when the paratroopers come in, they land in the water and drown. That's my World War II reference. I have some older ones when we get to France, England. I've got some old school stuff.
Well, let's start talking about that. I think England gave the people what they wanted. They smashed Senegal from start to finish. Harry Kane again
was good. The team was good.
He's everything to this team.
It's Bellingham
and England fans are starting to be forced to admit that he's the best player.
Did you actually listen to the Burling thing?
I did. It was shocking.
It was good. Come on.
It was shocking. It was shocking. No, he's the best English player they've ever had, full stop.
Yeah.
And he's doing the same thing he does for Tottenham now. He's playing two positions.
Yeah.
He's making, Jack Grealish irrelevant.
The story of this game, though, is Bellingham. And this narrative for England is Bellingham and how he's changed their stodginess through athleticism and power. He now partnered with Rice. He now gives them an outlet that can take them from defense to attack to get that ball to Kane. The problem was no one was getting the ball to Kane to hit those balls around the corner. It would go backwards. It would go sideways. It would go to the fullback and they would cross it and there would be nobody there and whatever. But now you have this dynamic runner who's pressing forward and really driving the team forward. And I do hope that the hyperbolic England machine does not kill this kid, but he's athletic. He's big.
Stay out of England.
yeah. He's not in England, which is good for him. But when you look at him, he's got that big frame where you're kind of like, oh, he's 19 years old. I know this is a little bit crazy, but as I watched him, I couldn't help think of like a LeBron, like a teenager who's got a man's body. Sure. And you're just like, holy shit, this is something else. And then every interview with him, every conversation with him he's got that super brain, that super head where you're just like, oh, he has the other thing. He's not Jack Grealish getting drunk. He's like, I'm very serious about this. I'm competitive as fuck. I'm going to go win this game. Defending his teammates, being like, yo, stop shitting on fucking Jordan Henderson. He's our captain. He's really fucking good. And I pass him the ball. If he goes to Liverpool, fine. I don't think he will. He should try and take a team that's out of the ordinary and be like, this is my team. Fuck you guys. I'm
Aston Villa.
Exactly. Like something weird like that. But he's been great. And he was a part of both goals. He set up the Henderson goal. And then he makes the run that's Foden to Kane for the second goal. And then the third, I don't even remember, but really strong performances. And we're getting to the point where and we'll talk about this in a minute, but just all the teams are really fucking good. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but just they haven't had any liabilities Pickford did make an early save in that Senegal game. Senegal had a moment where it was touch and go. Once England scored a first goal, they died. They were just like, oh, we're Senegal. They just, I do think,
and a Mane-less Senegal, right? It has to be said.
Yeah, but they shouldn't have dropped like that. Like they were fine. I think that's something that happens, and this is all anecdotal, and I don't know, and maybe we have African listeners or English fans who are of African descent. Just what is it about something with some of these lesser nations or less history, or there's an inferiority complex that like when something goes wrong, maybe it's not Africa, maybe it's just any team. A lot of teams. England was like this. I shouldn't have said that.
They were
Just
like this.
they collapse. They can't. They somehow
it's
the moment gets to them and they go, oh, it's England. We can't possibly recover.
See, I think you're only looking at half the pitch here, right? When something happens, when England score a goal, two things happen. Senegal goes, fuck. And England is like sharks with blood in the water, right?
Yeah.
And so they go,
We got something.
No. We see you flinching and we're not going to stop. Right. And so that's kind of so yes,
it's both.
That may be true about Senegal.
The nerves,
yes, it's both.
The nerves on both sides.
And
I don't know.
But I keep pressing and pushing down on them. Right?
But I think that about the USA. There's these moments where you're just like, oh, we're playing the Netherlands. Oh, we give a goal. We can't possibly beat them. Or
I don't know.
We're playing Germany, but it didn't feel that way. Some of the teams, like the Japanese against Germany or South Korea or all those things, they never felt that way. That was what made it so interesting, is that they did continue to fight. Or South Korea against Spain, rather, when they just kept going, which was amazing. Well, actually, was it Japan? Japan beat Germany and Spain.
Yeah, I know. I had Japan in both those games.
Yeah, so that was pretty wild. And then I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk Poland, France. Easy game, not a problem. Mbappe being just wide open and free. And then we sort of quickly talked about Giroud. He sets the record for goals for France. That's a name brand country, and he's not a name brand striker. He takes it off of Thierry Henry, and I think it'd be unfair to sort of shit on Giroud. He's just there, filling space, doing his thing. He's not the striker you want. He's the striker you need, and he allows Mbappe and Dembele to do the things they do. And they have we said earlier on, like, Poland are awful, but this was weirdly their best performance. They kind of took it to France a little bit. Sure. They get a consolation goal, but they just are not possible. And then I had one comment about this game. I'm starting to wonder why the fuck Deschamps plays Griezmann constantly and doesn't stop, but I have the reason. He actually is a striker who defends. He always is back in defense, little fucker. Anyway, France, I do worry about your boy Lloris. He's always fucking dropping something, making a weird pass. Yeesh.
Well, that's going to set up the best game of the tournament, I think. We'll go through the final, and this is going to be the best game, right? So England-France quarterfinals, Saturday afternoon, 10 p.m. local time in Qatar, which is what a couple of our games were. I mean, of the four quarterfinals, that is the headline, and it's really...
It's 14-15. It's the Battle of Agincourt. It's France, England. It's their first World Cup meeting ever. Is Harry Kane Henry V? Who will be the British archers? Is it going to be Kyle Walker locking down Mbappe? This is just like a battle of heavyweights. I think the weird thing for England is their media is just like, what are we going to do against Mbappe? When really they should start thinking, what's France going to do with Kane? Like, they have players who can hurt people. They've got to change their mentality of like, no. You have to adapt to us. Whereas their media is all just, oh, we're doomed. Can I just do my one thing that I researched for the Portuguese teams that we didn't talk about, Portugal and Brazil? I'm going to have to practice this. Now na cara, not in the face. Portugal and Brazil both smashed their opponents.
Goodness.
And all we got out of this narrative was Ronaldo not playing, and a hat trick from Gonzalo Ramos, and then your boy Richarlison. The celebrating and doing the chicken neck dance with Tite, a little bit much.
Yeah, no, I want Brazil. I'm just, on behalf of everyone who had to deal with that, I want Brazil.
And just to sort of keep it in, they're going to get Croatia, Brazil, because we started doing the previews.
And they're going to just muck the shit out of that game. And you know what? It's going to frustrate Brazil. Yeah. It's the right strategy because it's going to frustrate Brazil, right?
Yeah.
And they want to have their flashy bullshit. And the less they're able to do that, the more it benefits that
team. And the
team
Croatians are shit. They're going to kick Neymar. They're not stupid. They're not going to be like the South Koreans and be nice. They're going to fucking give it to him.
As well they should.
But the Koreans, take a red. Go home in a bag. Come on. Let's go. I wanted the Koreans to just like find that extra gear. But yeah, so Portugal I think we should talk about Ronaldo a little bit, even though he wants us to.
He's done. I hate him. I hate him.
It's over, right? It's just completely over.
It's just so. It's. I don't know what depressing is the word, but like,
it's icky.
It's sad, right? Like, hey, buddy, you got away with this, at Juventus, realistically.
Yeah.
Right? You went to United, you threw a 16, 18-month hissy fit. Basically. And okay, you're fresh off of that, and you do the exact same thing with Portugal. By the way, the Portugal that you always said you cared about more than anything, the 2016 Euros, he was hurt and he was like coaching on the sideline. So it's so grossly apparent now that it actually was, and we knew this at the club level,
Mask
but
off.
even it's so always all about you.
It's like, come on, dude.
And for a long time it was, because you're the best player in the world for a long time.
Yeah.
And now you're not. You're the fourth best attacker on your national team.
Yeah.
Fifth if you count Diego Jota. So I just
our guy Gonzalo Ramos, the guy
from Wolves,
it's a hat trick, the youngest player to get a hat trick in the World Cup, and they have to deal with the bullshit of whatever. I mean, like Benfica, he's another young Benfica guy. They're going to sell him now for billions of dollars, and that'll fund their next striker that they find.
Right.
So he gets his hat trick, and Pepe's still there, but there's a way to do it, right? You've got a guy like Pepe who's 38. He's 4 years older than Ronaldo, scoring goals, fighting for the team, fighting for the shirt, and you've got Ronaldo just, why are you taking me off? I'm like, dude, you're cooked. And just
not only that, there's no self-awareness, there's no grace, and I think that's the important thing here. Like,
but those super competitive guys, that's what happens, right? That's how it goes.
But again, you should want, and I understand you've won everything there is to win at the club level. You don't give a fuck anymore. Okay, fine. I still don't like it, but I can put that aside and I can pretend for a second. But if you do that on the national team level, like, you shouldn't be allowed in the stadium for the next game. You should be sent home, to wherever the fuck you just signed that huge Saudi Arabia. Go cash. Go count your money.
You know what it has to be.
Nobody cares.
It has to be this. I think he could probably handle it. It's that Messi is still doing it.
Okay.
It's that but you know what I mean? I'm just sort of like trying to be empathetic and think about it in his head. He's just like, fuck, but Messi's still going. Why can't I do that? Because you never learned to pass.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I didn't mean to jump out of that, but I just wanted to cover the Portugal teams, the Brazilian team. They got in trouble for dancing. Open a little question about whether you should be dancing. It's about fun. It doesn't bother me.
A word on Portugal, and I read this after the fact. I think it was the first goal, right? 5 minutes in by Gonzalo Ramos. If you notice, your very own Bernardo Silva does not celebrate, right? Did you see this?
No, what happened?
Okay, so the entire team in subs goes and piles on off the field in the corner, behind the corner flag. Bernardo Silva stops at the corner flag, and he looks like he's pouting. He looks like he's pulling a Ronaldo. But in actuality, he's staying on the field. If everybody is off the field, then the opposition can play it right from kickoff and go and score.
Very smart.
So he stopped. And if you watch, there's a picture of him standing there, and it looks like he's being the asshole. No.
He's actually smart and holding the line.
So very, very wise by your friend Bernardo Silva.
Well, I'm sure that's one of those details that Pep probably taught him, just to give Pep some credit.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Sick fuck. Anyway, that team's good. I hate Bruno. They're the most complaining team in the world, but it looks like they've got something, and it involves not having Ronaldo in it. It completely unlocks and makes everything free and opens everything up, and everyone's free. They all respect him, and so it makes them play tight because they don't want to get yelled at. And when he's not there, they're all just like, "Oh, we're a team again. We can play the way we want to." I think the shocking thing is that the coach actually did it in the middle. He played him for the first 3 games and then didn't. So I doubt we'll see him again. I don't see any reason why Ronaldo should play again, especially the way he's behaved. Okay, now we can go to the Battle of Agincourt. Sorry, I just wanted to go back so we can go forward again.
All right, let's get it.
But yeah, England, France. This is big. This is a big deal. It's so hard. You know how we talked about so many times. Like, how do we handle buildup? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is like as big a game as there is. It should get the biggest ratings in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, between these two countries, they've all colonized about all of Africa and half of Asia. So
have they colonized? Did they colonize every team from the group stage?
Yeah, I think so. So there's some connection to all of them. So it's just this amazing kind of like clash of history, clash of cultures, clash of like these heavyweights of history and politics and just all of it. And it just brings together, everyone's history books. But there's really not that much to talk about in terms of the game of just like how does France's weakened midfield deal with the English midfield? Is Declan Rice going to be there? He's hurt. Can they match up with Bellingham? I don't know. And then will Southgate be too defensive? We have to see Foden. We know we'll see Kane. And then Raheem Sterling, sadly, had to go home. His home was broken into. His family wasn't there, thank God. But he may come back. Will Southgate feel like he has to play him? Foden was fantastic. Again, the more that the younger players play, the better. I think the 5 sub thing makes these things less worrisome because teams have been using them. But I'm excited for this game. This is the biggest game of my footballing sort of interest.
This is probably the biggest game since France and Italy in the final in 2006.
Yeah, it's just massive. It's just massive. And then I think, for other sort of more old school, Netherlands, Argentina, 78 rematch. Famously, the Kempas game, he scores 2. They win in extra time. This was actually the 78 World Cup was famously the first kind of like, oh, we don't care that we have dictators in charge. This was the military coup in Argentina where they famously used to take people in planes and throw them out into the Pacific Ocean. So this was really the moment that the darkness descended on FIFA. It was Qatar before Qatar, where we were like, this is fucked up. Why the fuck are we here? So, but famously, there's always the pictures of the streams and just shit all over the pitch. But Argentina wins that, and the Dutch haven't been to a final since. That was the last of the total football teams. I'm sorry, in 2010. But then, they had gone in 74, I think. They went to 2 finals in a row.
74 was against Germany, right, with Cruyff?
Yes. Where they completely dominated them and lost 2-1. I sent everyone on the chat this really good video of a Pakistani guy going through all the times that Germany has ruined football.
Germany is the angel of death, so you should not feel bad for Germany. It's quite good. One omission from that I did expect, and I suppose I shouldn't be expecting Pakistani men to remember this, but one of the things he mentioned was going through South Korea in South Korea in the 2002 semifinal. Well, to get there, they needed a bullshit handball off of Michael Ballack against the United States of America, I believe in the quarters.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect a Pakistani guy to give a shit.
I'm still mad about that. In 7th grade, I fucking ruined my whole day. The game was on at like 5:30 a.m.
Yeah, those Asian World Cups are never a good time. But yeah, I mean, I think the weirdest game here. And then we have 2. We've got Argentina. We've got the Battle of Agincourt we do in France versus England. We've got this rematch of the 78, and then we've got 2 funky matchups where it's clear the not in the face. What was the word I said? Now na cara. We have Portugal versus Morocco and Brazil versus Croatia. I have more faith in Croatia, but there's a lot of minutes in the legs of the Croatians. They're old. They're tough, and can they even hang with Brazil? Every minute it stays 0-0. Every minute it's tied. Every minute there's a problem, I think is good for Croatia. They've got to muck this thing up. They have to go full Diego Simeone style. They've got to go, we can't run with these dudes, so we have to make it ugly. And, as much as we don't want to see that,
I want to see that.
The Croatians are they're gonna be lying down on the ground in the first minute. And
if it were any other team left, or any other team probably in the entire World Cup, I would not want to see that. I would be like, that sucks. This is a waste of 2 hours. I want to see Brazil struggle and feel pain
and lose on penalties.
And lose on penalties. No, I want to see them.
And I want Neymar to miss it.
I want to see them lose on an own goal in the 113th minute.
Oh, I love it. And then I think if Cristiano was still the focal point for Portugal, I would have more worry against Morocco because then there would be no runs in behind. But if Ronaldo's not going to play, I think they can handle Morocco.
You know, and
Morocco's really good defensively. That's their thing.
You know,
they haven't given up
almost. That was an interesting start. I was very surprised it wasn't Rafael Leao.
Yeah, he's been coming off. He got a goal in the end.
He got a goal in the 92nd. But and that's not a criticism. Obviously the kid scored a hat trick, but I was very surprised that A, it wasn't Ronaldo, and B, it wasn't Leao in place of Ronaldo. But yeah, so I think that, you know, like you said, this is one where the 5 subs win the game for Portugal if they haven't already, right?
You know, that's one thing. By the way, that's one thing I haven't. It really hasn't been discussed. And now that we're in this final grouping and we see all these big heavyweights, aside from Germany really not making it and Italy not making it at all, the 5 sub thing really hasn't been discussed that much as hey, the teams that are deep should have a huge advantage.
Yeah.
So someone like England, it's easier to keep the team on side. I think one thing that Tite has done with Brazil, and people are like, why are you doing this? He has gotten every single player on his 26-man roster play, even the third goalkeeper. So how do you manage your team? You have a much better shot now to get everyone involved. You have all these options. You can redo your whole front line. These are things that were completely, you couldn't do. And so you had more risk. And I think you can really change things now that make it a big difference. And probably in the future, we'll probably see more and more bigger teams. I mean, the big teams win all the time. There's only been 6 different champions,
right?
I think.
Here's one for you. We didn't have to worry, but he did come on, right? But if it's a tight game with Morocco, they're hanging tough like they did to Spain. Does Ronaldo come on? Do you give him the opportunity to be the hero?
If there's penalties, you bring him on.
Right. Well, okay. But okay. But
I don't know. I don't know.
Point, if it's 0-0, right? If it's 0-0, and let's just pretend it goes 0-0 120 minutes. If it's 0-0, what minute do you bring him on?
I think it depends on the state of the game. I think it depends if it's one of these things. You're going to have
control, though.
Right. That's what I mean. If it's like crossing the box time and you don't have to press them really anymore, and you just need someone that if it drops to them, you feel 90% sure he's going to hit it and put it in, I think you've got to allow that narrative to happen. So, yeah, I think you can't deny, especially if the other guys are getting tired, you put him in and, 85, let him play the extra time out.
You wait that long.
If it's 0-0,
right?
I'm not going to give him a half an hour.
You've got Leao, you've got Ruben Neves if you want to try and control things in the midfield. Joao Cancelo didn't even start for this team in the last game. So you've got a lot of attacking adjacent options, right? Vitinha.
But it's Cristiano. You bring him on late. You get him.
I know. I'm not saying I'm playing devil's advocate to an extent. I don't know the answer. But I think if it's 0-0,
can you imagine he scores a goal to put them through? It would be amazing.
And if it's 0-0 in the 70th minute, I think and depending on, let's just pretend it's the same lineup. You don't take Bruno off because he's a penalty taker. Can you take Ramos off? I guess, right? Like,
I would assume that it would be a like for like thing where it's somebody who run and they're
then it would be Ramos or Felix.
Yeah, I would not trust João Felix for penalties. I just don't get a sense that he's.
Yeah, that's fair. But you're not thinking about penalties. You're thinking.
Thinking about winning a game. Yeah, 70th
minute.
I don't know. These are why coaches are
because there's 50 minutes left in that game theoretically.
Yeah, I think I'd bring him on. Maybe 80. Maybe just to see, just to change it up if I don't feel like anything's happening. But you have to know that the second you put Cristiano on, he becomes the focal point of the team. So you have to have players like it has to be kind of like Bruno's already off because if you know what I mean? Like,
no, I think Bruno stays on because then he facilitates that.
Yeah, but he sucks when Ronaldo's playing with him.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Here's a fun one.
Yeah.
In the 4 quarterfinals,
Yes.
who is the player who shockingly misses a penalty between the Netherlands, Argentina, Croatia, Brazil, England, France, and Morocco and Portugal?
Well, it wouldn't be a shock because Messi misses penalties all the time.
Oh no,
he does.
I know he does. I know
it wouldn't
he
be a
does.
shock. It wouldn't be. I think that, to be fair, the biggest shock would be if Kane missed one.
Don't you bring that evil on me. All right. I don't care. I don't even want England to win, but I'm going to have to fucking hear about it. Because you know what? He's white. So it's not even like it's racial abuse like it was with Saka. Okay.
It would just be abuse.
It would just be abuse.
Traditional good old white man abuse.
Yeah. I'm going Neymar.
Oh my God, that would be great. He would
it would be beautiful.
Oh God, it would be amazing. I certainly hope he missed. I loathe. I mean, if there is a player I loathe in soccer more, it's definitely Neymar. Has anyone gotten less out of more? Like, just
no.
Just fuck
Diego
you
Costa. Diego Costa.
No, I mean he's gotten more out of.
More out of. Oh yeah.
He's just so good and just provides nothing. Like the holding onto the ball and then wondering why you get kicked. I'm like, dude, move the ball.
Yeah,
or
that's fair.
He's so good, and you just like, why are you injured again? Can you just not fucking get kicked?
Yeah.
Just move the ball. Your play for Brazil, they're amazing. Just get rid of it. And then he's like, "Oh, I got kicked. Why are they kicking me? Because you're a dick." Anyway, I think we're done.
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll be excited. Friday.
Wait. Predictions.
Yes.
Come on. France, England. What do you got?
I've got England 2-1 in extra time. Harry Kane brace.
England
eats shit.
2-1 in extra time. So you're saying that he's going to score a goal in like the 100th minute?
Yes.
Okay. Dutch, Argentina.
Argentina going away.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is like a 1-0 kind of thing with Messi. I think it's all Messi, and he gets something late, and they get it done and put out the Dutch.
I would love that. I think they score early, and they do what the U.S. could have done to the Netherlands. I think they get one early.
I'm pretty sure you have England in the final.
Yes, I have England winning it, actually.
And I have Argentina in the final. So let me not make sure I don't make a prediction that kicks my team.
I think the predictions we had were I think we set them up incorrectly because I did it on the fly when we were fucking around the show. But no, I think Argentina does to the Netherlands what the US wishes they had enough talent to do, and I think they win 3-1.
Yeah. Okay, you think Argentina 3-1, even though they haven't scored more than 2 goals yet. Anyway, okay, Morocco, Portugal. I think this is a massive mismatch. It is tough to see. It's tough to see Morocco going through again. It has to be Portugal. It has to. I can't see anything else. This is an easy one. It's like it's 2-0. It's 2-0. It's 3-0. I can't see Morocco scoring unless Ziyech runs free and they let them. There's no logic. Yeah, 1-0 to Portugal.
I think they struggle and then they get the goal mid-second half. And
is it Ronaldo? Does he come on? It's not.
No, it's Bruno.
It's Bruno. Okay, from the outside the box. Gotcha.
Yes.
And then Croatia, Brazil. Is this non face? None. Well, let me see if I write it. Let me get
0-0 Croatia in penalties.
Now Nakata. No, it's not now Nakata. It's not
Nakata. It's Nakata for Brazil.
It's in the face for Brazil. You're saying Croatia is going to get through Brazil on penalties. 0-0. Wow.
I am.
Amazing. Okay. All right. That was the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chopped Sports Network. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, but it's been getting loose during the World Cup. So be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We'll likely pod on Sunday or Monday, not Thursday, so you never miss an episode. If you're listening on Apple, please rate and review the show. Thank you, everyone in England. Thank you, Fan Hub. You are dreams to work with. In fact, you never ask us to do anything. Amazing. Battle of Agincourt, 14-15.